The morning sun shone through the big windows of Alexander Reed's mansion. He was already late for his meeting. Again. Alexander ran his hand through his dark hair and looked at his watch. It was 8:30 a.m. "Lily, we need to go now." He called up the stairs. Alexander was one of the richest men in the city. At 38, he had built a tech company worth billions. He had fancy cars, big houses, and more money than he could spend. But since his wife died 2 years ago, he had been raising their 5-year-old daughter alone. And that was harder than making all his money. "Coming, Daddy," a small voice called back. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. She wore a pink dress and held her favorite teddy bear. Her long blonde hair was messy, not brushed yet. "Oh, Lily," Alexander sighed. "We don't have time for this." He rushed up the stairs and quickly brushed her hair. His phone rang 5 times while he did this. Alexander ignored it. His assistant, Mark, would have to wait. "Is Miss Parker going to be mad that we're late again?" Lily asked as Alexander helped her into her coat. "Probably," he said. Miss Parker ran Lily's fancy daycare, Sunbeam Academy. She did not like when children were late. Alexander grabbed his car keys and Lily's lunchbox. They rushed out to his black sports car. He helped Lily into her car seat in the back. "Daddy, you forgot to make my lunch," Lily said, looking at the empty lunchbox. Alexander closed his eyes for a second. He had forgotten. Again. "We'll get you something on the way," he promised. His phone rang again. This time he answered it while driving. "Reed," he said sharply. "Mr. Reed, the board members are waiting." Mark's worried voice came through the car speakers. "They've been here for 20 minutes. Tell them I'll be there after I drop Lily off." Alexander said, "Start without me." He ended the call and looked at Lily in the mirror. She was hugging her teddy bear and looking out the window. She looked sad, and it broke his heart. Ever since her mother died, he had tried to be both parents. But he was failing. Alexander turned down a street he thought was a shortcut. His mind was on his meeting, not on where he was going. The streets in this part of town all looked the same to him. "Daddy, this doesn't look like the way to my school," Lily said. "It's a shortcut," Alexander said, though he wasn't sure anymore. He spotted a building with children going inside. It looked like a school or daycare. The sign was partly covered by a tree, but he could see Sun in the name. That must be it. Sunbeam Academy. Alexander parked quickly and rushed Lily inside. The place looked different. Smaller, with bright, colorful walls instead of the fancy marble floors of Sunbeam Academy. But Alexander was too busy checking his emails to notice. A young woman with dark curly hair and kind brown eyes met them at the door. "Good morning," she said with a warm smile. "I don't think we've met before." "Just running late," Alexander said, not looking up from his phone. "This is Lily Reed. 5 years old, no allergies. I'll pick her up at 5. The woman looked confused. "I don't think we have a Lily registered. Her paperwork should be on file," Alexander interrupted. "I really have to go. Very important meeting." He knelt down and gave Lily a quick kiss on the cheek. "Be good, sweetheart. Daddy loves you." Then he was gone, rushing back to his car, completely unaware that he had just left his daughter at Sunshine Community Daycare instead of Sunbeam Academy. And he had no idea that this mistake would change his life forever. Emma Santos watched the rich man rush out the door. She looked down at the little girl holding a teddy bear. The child seemed confused but not upset. "Hello, Lily. I'm Miss Emma," she said with a warm smile. "Welcome to Sunshine Community Daycare." "But this isn't my school," Lily said, looking around at the bright walls covered with children's artwork. "My school has big stairs and no pictures." Emma frowned. Something was wrong. That man had been in such a hurry he hadn't even noticed he was at the wrong place. "What's the name of your school?" Emma asked gently. "Sunbeam Academy," Lily replied. "Daddy pays lots of money so I can go there." Emma's eyes widened. Sunbeam was the fancy private daycare across town. This poor child was definitely in the wrong place, and that man who had rushed out, he must be Alexander Reed, the famous tech billionaire she'd seen in news stories. "Don't worry, Lily. We'll call your daddy," Emma said. "But while you're here, would you like to join our morning circle time?" Lily nodded, her eyes lighting up at the sight of other children sitting on a colorful rug. Emma tried calling the number the man had scribbled on the sign-in sheet, but it went straight to voicemail. She left a message explaining the mix-up. Meanwhile, Alexander sat in his board meeting, feeling proud that for once he had managed to get Lily to daycare without any real problems. His company was discussing a new product that would make them even more money. But Alexander couldn't focus. He kept thinking about Lily's sad face in the car. Just as the meeting ended, his phone buzzed. It was a voicemail from a number he didn't know. He listened to it as he walked to his office. "Mr. Reed, this is Emma Santos from Sunshine Community Daycare. There seems to be a mix-up. You dropped Lily off with us this morning, but she said she's supposed to be at Sunbeam Academy. Please call us back as soon as possible." Alexander stopped walking. His heart began to race. Wrong daycare. He had left his precious daughter at the wrong place, with strangers. "Mark." He shouted for his assistant. "Cancel everything. There's an emergency." Alexander ran to his car, his mind racing with worry. What kind of father makes a mistake like this? What kind of place was this Sunshine Daycare? Was Lily scared? Was she safe? He drove too fast, nearly hitting another car. When he finally found the small building again, he parked crookedly and ran inside. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. Lily sat at a small table, paint all over her hands. She was laughing. Next to her, the woman with curly hair, Emma, was helping her press her hands onto paper to make colorful handprints. Lily looked happier than he had seen her in months. "Daddy," Lily called when she saw him. "Look at my painting. Miss Emma says I'm a real artist." Alexander stood frozen, his panic turning to confusion. Emma stood up and walked over to him, looking serious. "Mr. Reed, I've been trying to reach you," she said. "You left Lily at the wrong daycare." "I know, I just got your message," he said, still watching his daughter. "I'm so sorry. I was in such a rush. I didn't even notice." "Lily's been fine," Emma said. "But next time, maybe slow down and pay attention to where you're going." There was no fear in her eyes as she spoke to him. Most people were nervous around Alexander because of his money and power, but this woman looked straight at him, not impressed by who he was. "You're right," Alexander said quietly. "I've been moving too fast for too long." He watched as Lily showed her painting to another little girl. She seemed so at home here, in this simple place with bright colors and kind people. "Thank you for taking care of her," he said to Emma. "I don't know what I would have done if..." "But nothing bad happened," Emma said with a gentle smile. "Sometimes mistakes lead us exactly where we need to be." Alexander stood awkwardly in the middle of the colorful room. Children played all around him. His expensive suit looked out of place among the finger paints and building blocks. "I should take Lily to her regular daycare now," he said, checking his watch. "I'm sure they're wondering where she is." "Actually," Emma said, "I called Sunbeam Academy to let them know Lily was safe with us. They said it's fine if she stays here for the days and she's already settled in." Alexander looked at Lily. She was now playing with clay, making small shapes with another little girl. She looked happy. "I don't know," he said. "Sunbeam has a special learning program. They teach the children French and math and we're making clay animals and learning to share," Emma finished for him. "Sometimes that's just as important." Alexander wasn't used to being interrupted. Most people let him finish every sentence. But Emma wasn't most people. "I guess she could stay," he said slowly, "if it's okay with you." "Of course it's okay," Emma said. "But we do need to fill out some forms. And there's a fee for the day." She led him to a small office off the main room. It was tiny, with just a desk and 2 chairs. Alexander sat down, feeling too big for the space. "How much is the fee?" he asked, pulling out his wallet. "I'm happy to pay extra for the trouble." Emma looked at him with raised eyebrows. "It's $30 for the day. That includes lunch and snacks." $30, Alexander repeated. "That's all." "Not everyone can afford more," Emma said simply. "We serve working families in this neighborhood. Many are single parents working 2 jobs. Alexander felt his face grow warm. He had been paying Sunbeam Academy $500 a day, and here was this place charging $30. "What about the teachers?" he asked. "How many do you have?" "Just me and my assistant, Maria," Emma said. "We have 15 children today, including Lily." Alexander frowned. "Sunbeam has 1 teacher for every 4 children, and we make do with what we have," Emma said firmly. "Every child here gets love and attention. We might not teach French, but we teach kindness and creativity." As they talked, Alexander noticed things about the small office. There were bills stacked neatly on the desk. Many had final notice stamped on them. The chair he sat on had tape covering a tear in the seat. The building needed repairs, but everything was clean and well cared for. "How long have you been running this place?" he asked. 5 years, Emma said. "I started it after I left my job as a corporate lawyer." Alexander's eyes widened. "You were a lawyer. Why would you leave that to run a daycare?" Emma smiled. "I was making lots of money, but not making any difference. Here, I help children and families every day." Alexander didn't understand. In his world, success meant making money. But Emma seemed truly happy in this small, struggling daycare. "Well, I should get back to work," he said, standing up. "I'll pick Lily up at 5. "We close at 6, Emma said. "But please try to be on time. Our teachers have families too." Again, her directness surprised him. People didn't usually tell Alexander Reed what to do. Back in his car, Alexander called his assistant. "Mark, I need you to find out everything you can about Sunshine Community Daycare." "And its owner, Emma Santos. Is there a problem, sir?" Mark asked. Alexander watched through the window as Emma returned to the children. She knelt down to help a small boy with his painting, laughing at something he said. "No," Alexander said. "No problem. Just curious." As he drove away, Alexander realized he hadn't thought about work or money for the last hour. All he had thought about was Lily, Emma, and the warm feeling of that simple daycare. It was strange and somehow nice. Alexander couldn't focus on work. He kept checking the time, wondering what Lily was doing at Sunshine Daycare. At 4:30, he told his assistant he was leaving early. "But sir," Mark said, "you have a call with Tokyo in 30 minutes. "Reschedule it," Alexander replied, already walking to the elevator. When he arrived at Sunshine Daycare, he was 15 minutes early. Through the window, he saw the children sitting in a circle. Emma was reading a story, making big movements with her hands. The children laughed. Lily sat right next to Emma, looking up at her with a big smile. Alexander watched for a moment before going inside. His daughter hadn't smiled like that since her mother died. "Mr. Reed," Emma said when she saw him. "You're early." "I finished work sooner than expected," he lied. The truth was, he had been curious about this place all day. "Daddy," Lily ran to him. "Miss Emma read us a story about a dragon who couldn't breathe fire, and we made cookies, and I played on the swings with Zoe." "That sounds fun," Alexander said, surprised by how excited she was. Lily never talked this much about her days at Sunbeam Academy. "Can I come back tomorrow?" Lily asked. Alexander looked at Emma, who raised her eyebrows. "Well," he said, "I think you should go back to your regular school tomorrow." Lily's face fell. "But I like it here. Miss Emma says I'm a good helper." "She is," Emma agreed. She helped the younger children wash their hands before snack time. Alexander felt torn. Sunbeam Academy had the best teachers and programs. It cost a lot of money. The children of doctors, lawyers, and business owners went there. It was the right place for the daughter of a billionaire. But Lily wanted to come back here, to this simple place with worn furniture and bright artwork on the walls. "Let me think about it," he said finally. As they were leaving, Alexander noticed a broken swing set in the small yard behind the building. "What happened to that?" he asked Emma. "It broke last month," she sighed. "We don't have the money to fix it yet. The children miss it." Alexander nodded. That night after Lily went to bed, he made some calls. The next morning, Alexander took Lily to Sunbeam Academy. She cried a little but went inside with her teacher. Alexander felt terrible. Maybe he should have let her go back to Sunshine. At lunchtime, he drove to Sunshine Daycare with a surprise. A truck was already there when he arrived. Men in work clothes were putting up a brand new swing set in the yard. Emma stood watching with her mouth open. When she saw Alexander, she hurried over. "Did you do this?" she asked. "The children needed a swing set," he said simply. "We can't accept such an expensive gift," Emma said firmly. "Our policy." "It's not for you," Alexander interrupted. "It's for the children." Emma looked at the swing set, then back at Alexander. For the first time, she smiled at him, a real smile that made her eyes shine. "Thank you," she said softly. Alexander felt something strange in his chest, a warm feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. "I was wondering," he said, "if you have space for Lily to come here 2 days a week. She can still go to Sunbeam the other days." Emma looked surprised. "Are you sure? We don't have French lessons or math tutors." "But you have something Lily needs," Alexander said. She was happy here. "We have space," Emma said. "But if she comes here, she'll be treated like all the other children. No special treatment because of who her father is." Alexander smiled. "That's exactly why I want her to come." As he drove back to his office, Alexander realized he was looking forward to seeing Emma again. It was a strange feeling for a man who had closed his heart when his wife died. But somehow, this woman who wasn't impressed by his money had started to break through his walls. 2 weeks passed. Lily now went to Sunshine Daycare on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She loved those days the most. On those mornings, she woke up early and rushed Alexander to get ready. Alexander found himself looking forward to those days too. He made sure to drop Lily off himself, even rescheduling important meetings to do so. And he always arrived early to pick her up. On this Thursday, Alexander arrived at Sunshine to find the children playing outside. It was a warm day, and they were having a water play day. Lily was running through a sprinkler, her hair wet and her clothes soaked. She was laughing loudly. "Daddy," she called when she saw him. "Come see what I made." Alexander followed her to a table where paper boats sat drying in the sun. "Miss Emma showed us how to make them," Lily explained. "Mine is the blue one. It's a boat for my teddy bear." "It's wonderful," Alexander said. He looked around for Emma and saw her helping a small boy dry off. She wore shorts and a t-shirt, both wet from the water play. Her curly hair was tied back, and her face was flushed from running around with the children. She looked so different from the women Alexander usually met, women in expensive dresses who never had a hair out of place. Emma was real and full of life. "Mr. Reed," she said, walking over to him. "You're early again." "I wanted to see how the swing set was working out," he said. Emma smiled. "The children love it. Thank you again." There was a moment of awkward silence between them. Alexander wanted to say something, but he wasn't sure what. "Miss Emma," a child called. "Tyler is putting sand in the water bucket." "Duty calls," Emma said with a laugh, hurrying away. Alexander watched her go, feeling that strange warmth in his chest again. That evening, Alexander and Lily ate dinner at their big dining table. Usually they ate in silence or with the TV on. But tonight, Lily couldn't stop talking about Sunshine Daycare. "Miss Emma says we're going to plant seeds next week," she said. "We're going to grow flowers and vegetables. She says I can be in charge of the tomatoes." That sounds nice, Alexander said. You really like Miss Emma, don't you? She's the best, Lily said. She knows how to make the sad go away. Alexander looked at his daughter curiously. What do you mean? Sometimes I feel sad about Mommy, Lily said quietly. Miss Emma says it's okay to feel sad. She says she gets sad too sometimes. Her mom went to heaven too, when she was little like me. Alexander felt his throat tighten. He didn't know that about Emma. He and Lily rarely talked about her mother. It was too painful. Miss Emma says the sad never goes away, but we get stronger at carrying it, Lily continued. And she gives the best hugs when I'm sad. That night, after Lily was asleep, Alexander sat in his office looking at a picture of his late wife. He missed her every day, but he had never talked about it with anyone, not even Lily. He had just buried himself in work. Emma had given Lily something he couldn't, a way to talk about her grief, a way to be sad but still happy. The next day, Alexander did something he hadn't done in years. He left work at lunchtime and drove to Sunshine Daycare. Emma was surprised to see him. Is everything okay? She asked. Lily isn't here today. I know, Alexander said. I came to see you. I was wondering if you would have dinner with me tomorrow night. Emma's eyes widened. Dinner? With you? Yes, Alexander said, feeling nervous like a teenager. Just dinner. To say thank you for all you've done for Lily. Emma studied his face for a long moment. Then she smiled. Okay, she said, but nothing fancy. I'm a simple person, Mr. Reed. Please, he said, call me Alexander. Alexander spent all day Friday thinking about his dinner with Emma. He hadn't been on a date since before his wife got sick. He wasn't even sure if this was a date, but it felt important. He wanted to take Emma to the fanciest restaurant in the city, but she had said nothing fancy. So he called a small Italian place instead. It was still nice, but not too fancy. What should I wear? He asked Lily that evening. Lily looked up from her coloring book, surprised that her daddy was asking her opinion. Blue, she said firmly. Miss Emma likes blue. She told me it's her favorite color. Alexander smiled. Blue it is. He wore a blue shirt with no tie and regular pants instead of suit pants. He left his expensive watch at home. He wanted Emma to see him as just a man, not a billionaire. When he arrived at Emma's apartment building, he was surprised. It was in a simple neighborhood, nothing like his big house in the rich part of town. Her apartment was small but cozy, with books everywhere and plants in the windows. Sorry about the mess, Emma said. I don't get many visitors. It's not messy, Alexander said. It feels like a home. His big mansion never felt like a home. It felt empty, even with all its expensive things. At the restaurant, they sat at a table by the window. Alexander was nervous. He was used to business meetings, not dinners with pretty daycare teachers. So, he said, how did you start Sunshine Daycare? Emma's eyes lit up. After my mother died, I lived with my grandmother. She ran a small daycare in her home. I saw how she helped working parents who had nowhere else to take their children. And that made you want to open your own? Alexander asked. Not right away, Emma said. First, I went to law school. I worked at a big firm for 3 years. Made lots of money, but I wasn't happy. What changed? Alexander asked. My grandmother died, Emma said. She left me some money. Not much, but enough to start the daycare. I wanted to help families like she did. Alexander thought about his own work. He made billions of dollars. But was he helping anyone? What about you? Emma asked. Did you always want to be a tech billionaire? Alexander smiled. No, I wanted to create things that made people's lives better. The money just happened. And are you making people's lives better? Emma asked. It was a simple question, but it hit Alexander hard. Was he? Or was he just making money now? I used to, he said honestly. Now I mostly have meetings about how to make more money." They talked through dinner about their lives, their dreams, and their struggles. Alexander had never talked so openly with anyone before. Emma listened and asked questions that made him think. When he talked about losing his wife, Emma reached across the table and took his hand. "Grief is like carrying a heavy rock," she said. "The rock never gets lighter, but your arms get stronger." It was exactly what she had told Lily. And somehow it helped Alexander too. After dinner, they walked in a small park near the restaurant. The night was warm, and stars shone above them. "Thank you for tonight," Emma said. "It's been a long time since I went out to dinner." "Me too," Alexander said. "I'd like to do it again." Emma looked at him for a long moment. "Alexander, I need to be clear about something. I like you, but our worlds are very different. You live in mansions and fly in private jets. I run a struggling daycare and live in a small apartment. Maybe it's time I saw more of your world," Alexander said. "It seems a lot happier than mine." When he dropped Emma off at her apartment, he didn't try to kiss her, but she hugged him, and it felt better than any business deal he had ever made. Over the next month, Alexander and Emma went on more dinners together. They took Lily to the park on Sundays. They became friends, and maybe something more. But one Tuesday, Alexander arrived at Sunshine Daycare to find Emma looking worried. She was talking to a man in a suit who held papers in his hand. "What's going on?" Alexander asked after the man left. Emma sighed. "That was my landlord. The rent for this building is going up next month. A lot. We can't afford it." "Can't you raise your prices a little?" Alexander asked. Emma shook her head. "Most of our families can barely pay what we charge now. If we raise prices, they'll have nowhere to take their children while they work." Alexander wanted to offer money. He could buy the whole building easily, but he knew Emma would say no. She was proud and independent. "How much time do you have?" he asked. 2 months to find a new place," Emma said. "But affordable buildings in safe areas are hard to find." That night, Alexander couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Sunshine Daycare closing, about the children who needed it, about Emma losing the work she loved. The next morning, he called his assistant. "Mark, I need you to set up a new company," he said. "Don't use my name. And find out who owns the building where Sunshine Daycare is located." A week later, Alexander took Emma and Lily out for ice cream. Lily got chocolate all over her face, making them laugh. "I have good news," Emma said suddenly. "The landlord called yesterday. A new company bought our building, and they're keeping the rent the same. We can stay." "That's wonderful," Alexander said, trying to look surprised. "What company?" "Sunshine Community Partners," Emma said. "I've never heard of them before." Alexander just smiled and helped Lily wipe ice cream from her chin. That weekend, Emma invited Alexander and Lily to her apartment for dinner. She made spaghetti, and they ate at her small kitchen table. It was nothing like the fancy meals Alexander usually ate, but it tasted better somehow. After Lily fell asleep on Emma's couch, Alexander and Emma sat talking quietly. "I have a confession," Emma said. "I know what you did." Alexander felt his heart beat faster. "What do you mean?" "Sunshine Community Partners," Emma said. "That's you, isn't it? You bought the building." Alexander looked down at his hands. "How did you know?" "The company name was a big clue," Emma smiled. "And Maria's brother works at the bank. He recognized your assistant." Alexander expected Emma to be angry, to tell him he had crossed a line. But instead, she took his hand. "Thank you," she said softly, "not just for saving the daycare, but for doing it in a way that let me keep my pride." "I'm learning," Alexander said. "You're teaching me that helping doesn't always mean throwing money at problems." Emma leaned forward and kissed him gently on the cheek. It was their first kiss, and Alexander felt like a teenager again. "You're a good man, Alexander Reed," she said. under all that billionaire stuff. Later that night, as Alexander drove home with a sleeping Lily in the back seat, he thought about how much his life had changed since that morning when he went to the wrong daycare. Before, he had everything money could buy. Now he was discovering all the things money couldn't buy. Lily's laughter, Emma's smile, the feeling of doing good without getting credit. His phone rang. An important business call from China. For the first time ever, Alexander turned his phone off without answering. Some things were more important than business. 3 months had passed since Alexander first took Lily to the wrong daycare. Summer was now ending, and soon Lily would start kindergarten. Alexander sat in his office, looking at school brochures. All the best private schools wanted the daughter of billionaire Alexander Reed. His phone rang. It was Emma. "Alexander, can you come to the daycare? There's something I want to show you." When he arrived, Emma led him to the backyard. All the children were there, including Lily. They stood around a small garden full of vegetables and flowers. "Our garden is ready for harvest," Emma said proudly. The children planted everything themselves. Lily ran to Alexander. "Daddy, look at my tomatoes. They're red and ready to eat." Alexander knelt down to see the small tomato plants, heavy with ripe fruit. Lily had talked about these plants for months. "That's amazing, sweetheart," he said. "You grew these yourself." "Miss Emma helped me," Lily said. "We take care of them every day." Emma smiled. "Lily has the best tomatoes in our garden. She worked very hard." Alexander felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. Lily had learned so much here at this simple daycare. Things she wouldn't have learned at the fancy Sunbeam Academy with its French lessons and math tutors. After the children went inside for lunch, Alexander and Emma sat on a bench near the garden. "School starts next month," Alexander said. "I've been looking at private schools for Lily." Emma nodded. "She'll do well wherever she goes. She's smart and kind." "What would you do?" Alexander asked. "If you were me, where would you send her?" Emma looked surprised. No one asked her opinion about things like this. "I would send her where she'll be happy," Emma said simply. "Where she'll learn to be a good person, not just a smart one." "There's a public school near our house," Alexander said. "It's just a regular school. Nothing special or fancy." "Sometimes regular is exactly what children need," Emma said. That evening, Alexander asked Lily about school while they ate dinner. "Would you like to go to a fancy school with big buildings and special classes?" he asked. "Or would you like a regular school where children from our neighborhood go?" Lily thought for a moment. "Will they have a garden at the fancy school?" "Probably not," Alexander admitted. "Will I make friends at the regular school?" "I think so," Alexander said. "There are lots of children there." "Then I want to go to the regular school," Lily said. "And I want to keep going to Miss Emma's daycare after school." "Can I, Daddy?" "If that's what you want," Alexander said. Later that night, Alexander called Emma. "I've decided to send Lily to the public school," he said. "And I'd like her to come to Sunshine for after-school care, if that's okay." "Of course," Emma said. "We'd love to have her." There was a pause. Alexander took a deep breath. "Emma, I've been thinking a lot lately. About my life. About what matters. Before I met you, all I cared about was making money and being successful. I didn't even know I was missing something. And now," Emma asked softly, "now I know there's more to life than business deals and fancy things," Alexander said. "Lily is happier than she's been since her mother died. And so am I." "I'm glad," Emma said. "It's because of you," Alexander continued. "You showed me a different way to live. A better way." Emma was quiet for a moment. "Alexander, are you saying what I think you're saying?" "I'm saying I love you," he said. "I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. But I do." When Emma spoke again, her voice was warm and full of emotion. "I love you too," she said. "Both you and Lily." Alexander felt his heart fill with joy. He had everything money could buy. But love, that was something even his billions couldn't purchase, and now he had found it in the most unexpected place. 1 year had passed since Alexander took Lily to the wrong daycare. So much had changed. Lily was now in first grade at the public school near their home. She loved her class and had many friends. Every day after school, she went to Sunshine Daycare, where Emma was waiting for her. Alexander had changed too. He still ran his company, but he worked fewer hours. He came home for dinner every night. He never missed Lily's school events. And Emma, she still ran Sunshine Daycare, but now it was different. The building had been fixed up with new paint and better equipment. There was a big garden where the children grew vegetables. There was even a small library filled with books. Alexander had helped with these things, but always in ways that let Emma keep her pride. He never just gave money. Instead, he found people who wanted to donate books or paint or garden supplies. Today was a special day. Alexander, Emma, and Lily were having a picnic in the park. It was the same park where Alexander and Emma had walked after their first dinner together. "Can I go play on the swings?" Lily asked after they finished eating. "Yes, but stay where we can see you," Emma said. As Lily ran off, Alexander took Emma's hand. "Do you know what day it is?" he asked. Emma smiled. "Of course. It's the anniversary of the day you got lost and found us." "The best mistake I ever made," Alexander said. He reached into his pocket and took out a small box. Emma's eyes grew wide. "Alexander," she whispered. "Emma Santos," Alexander said, opening the box to show a simple but beautiful ring. "This past year has been the happiest of my life. You taught me what really matters. Will you marry me?" Emma looked at the ring, then at Alexander. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I will marry you." Alexander put the ring on her finger. It wasn't the biggest or most expensive ring he could have bought, but it was perfect for Emma, who valued meaning over money. "Lily," Alexander called. "Come here, sweetheart. We have something to tell you." Lily ran over, her face flushed from playing. "Miss Emma and I are going to get married," Alexander said. "How do you feel about that?" Lily's eyes grew huge. Then she jumped up and down, clapping her hands. "Really, Miss Emma will be my new mommy. This is the best day ever." Emma hugged Lily tight. "I could never replace your real mom, but I promise to love you with all my heart." "I know," Lily said. "Mommy would be happy. She always told me she wanted us to be happy." That night, as they drove home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat. Alexander and Emma talked quietly about their future. "I don't want a big fancy wedding," Emma said. "Just something small, with people we love." "Whatever you want," Alexander agreed. "Big or small, fancy or simple. All that matters is that we'll be together." "I never thought I'd marry a billionaire," Emma laughed softly. "And I never thought I'd fall in love with a daycare teacher," Alexander replied. "But here we are." As they pulled into the driveway of Alexander's house, soon to be their house, he thought about how one small mistake had changed everything. One wrong turn had led him to the right place. In the morning, he would still be a billionaire with a big company, but now he was also something more important, a man who had learned the true value of things money couldn't buy. Love, family, happiness. Alexander looked at Emma's hand in his, at the ring that promised their future together. Then he glanced back at Lily, sleeping peacefully. His family, his real treasure. Sometimes the best things in life happen by accident, and sometimes getting lost is the only way to find what you're really looking for.